Hello and welcome to the Pretentious show. I'm Alexander Davenport. You know, I wanted to avoid this subject for quite a while now, but it was sprung on me at the last moment. You see, I was watching an episode of This Is Modern Art and I had the urge to do something that I'd never done before. I left a comment. It was nothing special, just Matthew Collings is the man. It's as if Oscar Wilde was in the room. But what I found mostly interesting about this was that someone found it most offensive. The reply to my comment was as such. No, he's a pretentious hipster who has deluded himself as to what is beautiful or ugly. He likes being cool and different, and is indifferent to beauty. He likes novelty and newness for his own sake, not because it actually helps to transform art on a positive manner. His obsession with making his hair and beard unkempt enough in wearing something stylish enough point to the fact that he doesn't really care about the content of artwork at all. Okay, I'll leave that bit up to you for now. But for the moment, let's talk about hipsters. A hipster is a slang word and hard to describe. As far as what I believe, it's a person, generally a youth, who tries their best to act against the grain of fashion, ideologies and language. They thrive on irony, the retro, and love phrases such as "this place, band, food or show was great before it became popular," and "I hate seeing people wearing insert article of clothing here. Everybody wears insert article of clothing here." And the classic, "you can't get better sound than vinyl." This postmodern philosophy seemingly pushes the so-called hipster's head up their arse. But here's my problem. Now that the word hipster's been invented, no one can really feel like they're being individual anymore, because seeing as people are trying desperately hard to feel unfashionably fashionable, they inadvertently get pushed into a conformity subgroup, thus becoming fashionable themselves. Well, no one's perfect, as Deschamps would say. My point is this: don't be a fashion snob. There's no reason to tell people off for looking like Paris Hilton and eating McDonald's in the same way you shouldn't tell someone off for wearing bow ties and eating fish fingers and custard. Hey, I absolutely love this ironic fashion statement, but at the same time, I tend to like to eat McDonald's because, well, out of spite. Capitalism. So now I've made sure that everyone hates me. What's the point of this rant? Well, in the 60s, Andy Warhol took the sacred concepts of fine art and not only did the blasphemous thing of making it mainstream, but made it cool. If there was a time to see the birth of the hipster movement, this was it. Exploit other images and artists and recycle them without regret. So set up your dodgy video camera, put on your velvet underground, and grab your Campbell's tomato soup, as we're going to take a look at several postmodern incarnations of exploitationism. Andy Warhol was superficial and proud of it. While sporting an ugly anti-establishment look, he also represented everything that was reformed. Celebrities, commercialism, consumerism, capitalism, all the big C's. This was a new era in glorious technicolor. Pop art and its unofficial leader was riding the wave of disposable happiness. There's even a video on YouTube of Andy Warhol eating a hamburger. You might have seen it. Yeah, that's all he does, by the way. It's not his film, by the way. You know, that it's part of a 1982 Dutch film by Joachim Leth called Scenes from America. Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. It's just a person eating a hamburger. And yet here we are. And we're not the only ones who look at that and reinterpret it. I mean, there are videos of people watching this video online. And there are people who create videos of people watching this watched video of this watched video. It's like Inception. Amazing. Well, enough of that. That's the present reinterpreted as the 80s. So let's get back to the 60s.
What do you think of Jasper John?
Oh, I think he's great.
Why?
He makes such great lunches.
Andy Warhol and his connection to the media may be just what we needed. The blatant copying of brands and icons to show what sort of a world we're living in sounds decent to me. Yes. In the turn of the century, ironic or not, juxtaposing old ideas with new was called the avant-garde. It would eventually be called postmodernism, but in the 60s it was just called pop art. Take respect and bin it. Let's do art about celebrities, Brillo boxes, comic books. Wait, that's not Warhol. That's Roy Lichtenstein. Well, he can join the party too. What does he do? Hey, he does old comic books. Of course he does. I like comic books. Flash, bang. Hey, that looks cool. Oh, you silly woman. Where does he get his ideas from? Oh wait, yes, that's right. Someone had to create that first, didn't they? You know, all of a sudden it just doesn't seem as fun anymore. Roy Lichtenstein didn't just use other people's artworks for appropriation. He blatantly stole from other artists such as Tony Abruzzo, Irv Novick, and Carl Banks. By the way, there are several websites crediting all the artists he failed to mention while copying. The main one is called Deconstructing Lichtenstein. Life magazine had a non-flattering article written about him in 1964. The title simply read, "Is he the worst artist in the US?" Lichtenstein's general response to such questions is this: the closer my work is to the original, the more threatening and critical the content. However, my work is entirely transformed in that my purpose and perception are entirely different. I think my paintings are critically transformed, but it would be difficult to prove it by any rational line of argument. No rational line of argument. But that didn't stop Lichtenstein's estate from claiming copyright over the band Elizor in 2010 for copying one of his paintings. Yes, and 13 years after his death, no less. Don't worry, the artist called Pyle proved she didn't actually copy Lichtenstein's material. She copied Tony Abruzzo's material instead. You know, the original artist. Oh, and if you're wondering why I can only show these pictures with all the writing on, there's a chap called David Barsaliu. He's the one sourcing all the Lichtenstein references. Now he's claiming them to be his by putting his own name on them. Okay. Good luck with that. So that's what you get when you take a fine artist who wants to copy a commercial artist's work. But what do you get when you have a fine artist who wants to copy another fine artist's work? Well, you get Damien Hirst. Oh, Damien Hirst. If there was a marketing god of the art world, it would be him. So what does he do? Anything that works. Things in glass boxes? Okay, let's do that. Dots? Everyone loves dots. Hello, my friend John Lee Kay. What are you doing? Oh, that's a very nice crystal skull you have there. It's a shame if something were to happen to it. Now all I need is a title.
The idea for titling it For the Love of God came from my mother, who used to say that whenever I had crazy ideas. For the love of God, what are you going to do next?
Oh, great. Hirst once said, "Lucky for me, when I went to art school, we were in a generation where we didn't have any shame about stealing other people's ideas. You call it a tribute." You know, tributes usually give credit to the source material. Just saying.
Isn't it a miracle what so much money and so little ability can produce? Just extraordinary. You know, when I look at a thing like this, I realise that so much of art, not all of it, thank God, but a lot of it, has just become a kind of cruddy game for the self-aggrandizement of the rich and the ignorant. It is a kind of bad but useful business.
Wow, thanks Robert Hughes. You know, Andy Warhol wouldn't stand up to this bollocks, right?
Did you know him?
Well, not in the flesh, exactly.
I used to. I thought he was one of the stupidest people I'd ever met in my life.
Really? Why?
Because he had nothing to say.
Oh, well, what about his reproductions?
Even the work seems to me to be rather dry and repetitious.
Yeah. Hey Andy, do you ever think you shouldn't have used copies and appropriations? Yeah, you're right. I mean, what other artist would use, appropriation? Except for all of these. And this arsehole. Do me a favour, okay, and just let me know if I haven't referenced the original artists in my work, okay? During the last 2 weeks of the Roy Lichtenstein exhibition, the exhibition Image Duplicator exhibited at the Orbital Gallery in Leicester Square. Within this exhibition, artists such as Fufu Frangnauel, Dave Gibbons and Jason Atomic showed satires of Lichtenstein's work, making sure to credit the original artist. This might be a good time to mention the Stuckists as well. Every year they dress up as clowns and protest the lack of figurative painting and traditional artwork outside the Tate during their Turner Prize.
I said right on to the Stuckists.
Right.
And
But you
then I
don't
said,
know why?
cool baby, to the champagne quaffers inside. And I felt loving towards both the opposing camps.
So you're with the Stuckists?
I was with them in spirit, but I was inside out of the rain with the champagne.
They're the ones who've made an effort showing Damien Hirst's potential plagiarisms. This is why I love satires of Damien Hirst's work. Seriously though, beyond just using art references, is this the new form of medium? Unoriginality? Exploitationism? I guess so. It's even been brought into celebrity status. Shia LaBeouf has now become famous for quoting lines that are not his own, and then wearing a paper bag on his head, both on the red carpet and in an art performance piece. Almost as if saying, yeah, I did that on purpose. By the way, Mara Wilson did a great parody of this. There are, of course, real problems one can face. Yes, there are issues like Glenn Brown's problem with the Turner Prize in 2000, when he was accused of copying Anthony Roberts' 1974 science fiction illustration.
And you can't tell from a little, TV screen like that his painting is very big, and the science fiction illustration is like 6 inches across. What's the problem? Yeah, it's obvious it's not the same thing.
So plagiarism doesn't exist except unless you do it the same scale?
That's right.
But then there can be real lawsuits, like Shepard Fairey's notorious Hope poster. Yes, this has become an icon of our decade, and now is in the US National Portrait Gallery. However, the original photographer, Manny Garcia, wanted credit and compensation for the work. Fairey then fought the case and lost due to destroying evidence. Fairey admitted he used a close-up shot of Obama, also taken by Manny Garcia. Fairey was sentenced to 300 hours community service, ordered to pay a $25,000 fine, and placed on probation for 2 years. So why did Lichtenstein, Glenn Brown, and Damien Hirst get away with this, and not Shepard Fairey? Well, I have a theory, or at least I had a theory. And it's not nice or even clever. It's to do with the cultural differences between the world of high fine art and the commercial world of low art. That was until I discovered the court case between Art Rogers and Jeff Koons. Jeff Koons created this sculpture and Art Rogers created this photograph. Jeff Koons' defense was parody. The final holding was, an artist who reproduced a photograph as three-dimensional sculpture for sale as high-priced art should not claim parody as defense for copyright infringement when the photo itself was not the target of his parody. Rogers was awarded a monetary settlement, and Koons was ordered to give the sculpture to Rogers. So everyone has rights, but no one's safe from theft. It seems we've gone a long way from when we decided to take low art and elevate it. However, instead of bridging any gaps between low art and high art, it gives the excuse to steal from those small little sheep working for a living. In regards to Roy Lichtenstein, Bill Griffith, a New York cartoonist, once said, "There's high art and there's low art, and then there's high art that can take low art and bring it into high art context, appropriate it and elevate it into something else." Now I realize, being a cartoonist, he's probably showing empathy towards the original content. However, Lichtenstein never actually gave credit towards the original content. But, you know, maybe he's being the bigger man. I mean, maybe he's showing, you know, there's the absurdity of copyright sacredness or something, and just wants to share his... Actually, show that again. I have a great idea! New painting, on sale now at Etsy. So that's it. Andy Warhol made it acceptable, Damien Hirst made it profitable, very profitable, and many others have followed.
It's because everything that I do somewhere brainwash your face.
What is the line between references, parody and theft? Maybe we'll never know. Well, actually we will know if it's taken to court. Perhaps this is another look between the conflict of capitalism versus socialism. On one side we have the idea that everything is free and must be shared, and on the other side we have the idea saying, "What? No! I made this! I demand respect! Come on, don't take the piss!" I believe the line that should be made is credit. Just basic credit. Credit where credit is due. I realize it's difficult to find all of the references that you need, and sometimes you might not even realize that you're creating something that is not your own. But it is important. I myself have used pictures and videos that are not my own, and I will try my hardest to try and credit them. It's difficult, but it is important and fair. So what do you think, Matthew Collings?
You know, you can't tell from a little, you know, TV screen like that his painting is very big, and the science fiction illustration is like 6 inches across. What's the problem? Yeah, it's obvious it's not the same thing.
So plagiarism doesn't exist except unless you do it at the same scale.
That's right.
Damn, foiled again! It's a smoking cap. I wear a smoking cap now. Smoking caps are cool. Today's episode of The Pretentious Show has been brought to you by Zippity Doodat, a new artwork by Alexander Davenport, and no one else. On sale now. Zippity Doodat, zippity day. It's fine art 'cause it's Etsy, not eBay.